Yo, all right. So we got Steve in the building. I don't have a super cool intro like you do for everyone, but Steve's a fucking legend in the game.
You're super cool, dude. So
Legend in the game. Was real estate investor, sales leader, passionate entrepreneur. What else would you say is like really cool about yourself?
I don't know, dude. I'm just trying to get shit done. I'm Jewish.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Just trying to keep the dream alive.
That's it, bro.
Yeah. Just trying to keep the dream alive, man. I help people sell solar, run teams across the country, try and do a little bit of investing.
There you go.
Trying to, just trying to maximize my full potential, dude. That's why I hang out with people like you.
Me? Oh, dude, no way. You raised my parameter.
It's the frequencies, baby.
Yeah, right. Raising the vibrations, dude. Well, yeah, I'm stoked that you came out here all the way. I know it was a bit of a trek, and you're a busy dude, so.
Nothing too far in Vegas, dude.
Yeah.
Nothing too far.
It's getting big, dude. It's getting kind of big.
It is getting big. I remember living in SoCal for 2.5 years. And people always used to complain about, like, oh, I live in Summerlin, you live in Henderson. Like, it's like a 35-minute, 40-minute drive. And then after living in California, you come back to Vegas, everything's small, dude.
Dude,
Get to the other side of town.
I mean, like, now, like, Sky Canyon to, like, Enspirada,
yeah.
that's our mission.
It is kind of deep.
Like, if you had an appointment at 11 in Inspirada and the freaking Sky Canyon appointment at 12, like, I don't think you're gonna make it.
Yeah, especially if it's like 3 to 6 o'clock, then you're getting stuck.
You're toast, and the freeways are jacked right now.
Yeah, Vegas is popping though, dude. It's good, like you mentioned, right? Like real estate. My strategy's always just kind of been like, I don't even know if I'd call myself a real estate investor. I guess after like 5 homes, I guess you're a real estate investor. But now I'm like, yeah, Vegas keep popping because now I have some skin in the game, right? Yeah. Other than traffic, like I bet heavily on Vegas and the future growth, and that's why I want to buy homes here. I want to buy homes, put in my parents in it. I want to go in it and then upgrade year over year. Because I think that's how true wealth is made, dude.
There you go with real estate. That's a super. I had a guy, Mana Silva. I don't know if I introduced you to him. Super fucking dope dude though. Hawaiian dude. He was like played for the Ravens like football team, and now he's like since then he's done like 150 or 250 new builds like houses.
Damn.
He's killing it. Yeah, he's doing great. And he's like, bro, it's so fucking easy to make $1 million. Like you just buy a house, you live in it for 2 years, then you move out and you get another one, you live in it for 2 years, and he's like, it's fucking easy. I was like, yeah.
Dude, I just had a guy on my podcast last week. His name is Shane CEO. Shout out Shane if you're listening to this. First time meeting the guy, real estate investor, and whenever you meet a real estate investor, you really don't know what that means, right?
Yeah, what part of it?
Bro, he bought 100 houses last year.
Holy shit.
All creative finance.
What?
Little to no down.
That's crazy.
And the dude's just crushing it. He has like 500-600 homes now.
What?
Under his portfolio. He's been doing it for like 8.
He's just holding them?
8 years. Yeah, all hold. No flipping, no wholesaling. Just buy and hold a bunch of land. And a lot of stuff was going over my head. I'm not going to lie to you. That's why I had to go rewatch my own episode. But no, dude, there's people out there that are freaking crushing it. And if you're dedicated enough to learn the skill set and learn the craft and know what you're doing, you can go make it happen. I've taken the path of most resistance where it's like save 10 to 20% down.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I'm blessed to be in an industry where I have no cap on my income in sales. I'm self-employed. But for those that aren't in that type of income, there are definitely strategies to
just get around it.
Get real estate, dude. And, if you really think about it, I forgot who I was talking to. But they're like, yeah, dude, I don't want to invest in real estate. Like, if you actually look at it, the cash flow, what am I going to go put down $30,000, $40,000 for $400 a month? That doesn't make sense.
Right. That's a Mikey Lou quote.
Yeah, right? Yeah. But that's not the concept. Like, how you create wealth in real estate, at least in my experience, is it's the future appreciation. Because if the cash flow is just there for you to preserve the property. I feel like Grant Cardone has really like got everyone like cash flow. Cash flow is important so you can continue to make the payment and keep the property alive when it comes to unforeseen costs and repairs and maintenance.
Right.
But the long-term game on how you build wealth is appreciation, because that 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 100% of the time this house, as long as it's in a good area like Vegas, is going to be more expensive. It's going to be worth more than it was 15 years ago. 100%. And if you don't believe me, ask your grandparents.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they got their house for $80,000.
Yeah, I'm a Zillow fanatic, dude. I'm on Zillow like every night. It's just like one of my things that I like to do. It's like my little calming night practice. Just like dream building, looking at the $10 million houses, but also at the $400,000 houses, just to have a pulse on the market. And it's crazy going to see Vegas is a spot where you can actually see what the house was sold for in the history. So like I like seeing, damn, this thing in 2011 was this 2015 was this, 2020.
Yeah.
And you're like, holy shit, dude. This
Dude.
person that bought in 2010, this $300,000 house is now worth $800,000.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you can do that at scale 10 times, 15 times,
Right.
20 times, then your net worth is $5 million.
Yeah, I mean, and the way you're doing it is super smart. Just like slow and steady wins the race. You just buy one. It's like every couple of years you buy another one, and like, I mean, your house, your parents' house, and like I think what your like aunt or your uncles live in the other one. So like just putting the family on, and then in the meantime, like as a byproduct, you're building that wealth. So that's like, I think that's the case. Is like it's not like solar sales where you just come in and just rip it and just get a bunch of like cash. It's like it's a slow and steady kind of game, right?
Yep. It's not get rich quick, but it's get rich eventually.
Yeah.
And most of my net worth is tied in my properties.
Yeah.
You know, like most, and it's crazy to see, right? I bought a house in my first house that I lived in. I bought right before COVID or right after COVID in the beginning of 2020. Bought it for like $485, stupid low interest rate, like 2%.
Yeah.
I got super lucky in terms of that timing. Now it's worth over $750,000. You know,
Dude, that's crazy.
Not doing anything, right? I put a little bit of money into it. Yeah, fleeting joys.
What?
You know, the neighbor just sold. Shout out to Gershon. He sold it like 3 or 4 weeks ago. It sold for like $690. No pool. Not really that renovated. So I'm like, mine's worth at least $750. But my point is, in that 3-year period, I made about $250,000 in equity for
paying
not doing
your bills
anything.
on time.
Yeah, for not renting and paying someone else's mortgage off. Granted, that's not always the case. The market's not always going to go up, but over a long enough time horizon, if you can acquire enough assets, make sure you're not over leveraged, meaning that you even if the mortgage, the renter doesn't pay it for whatever reason, vacancy, you're not going to lose the house if there's a down market or something like that. Because I really think the only way you lose money in real estate, again, I'm only 30 years old. I didn't live through 2008.
Yeah.
But in my mind, the only way you lose money in real estate is if you're over leveraged and you can't pay the bill if the tenants leave.
Right.
Like the only way you lose money in real estate is if you have to sell on a down market.
Right.
But if the market's down and you can afford it because you have a fixed mortgage and you have tenants in there paying because people need a place to live, you just don't sell it until the market rebounds.
Yeah.
That's the only way you lose.
Yeah.
All the people that lost money in 2008, 2007 is because they bought the property here. It went down to here. They couldn't afford the payment anymore, so they had to sell it here. Versus for those that bought a house in 2008, it may have took them a decade, but eventually they would have came out and created a profit on it.
Right. Yeah. 100%. Can't agree with you more, bro. I don't know where you were going with that. You're pretty passionate, though.
It fires me up, dude, because like most people, they'll be renters forever, especially now in today's market, dude. Like I think the middle class is getting priced out.
Yeah.
Like when I think of my friends from high school or college that have normal jobs, they took the 40-40-40 plan, right? Go to college, get a degree, maybe they're working a job that hopefully they're happy with, making $80,000 a year. It's like, how the heck are you going to buy a house, dude, with interest rates and the way prices are? Unless you buy one around this area.
Yeah. For real. And sometimes you got to just sacrifice and get like below your means. Just get in where you can, you know what I mean? That's where you could start. Dude, that's awesome. I mean, what else are you passionate about besides real estate? I want to double down on what you said about like not over leveraging yourself. I know you just got like the crib. Did you get the Lambo?
Not yet.
Are you gonna? But that's what like. Do you feel like it would tiptoe the boundaries of over leverage?
This is the question that I tend to ask myself a lot. I'm Jewish, which you technically are now too. Welcome to the tribe by association. Insertion also. I'm just kidding. But I don't know, dude. I do know. So I justify a lot of my purchases. I feel like if I wanted to over leverage, I would have bought this Lambo and $1 million house 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Yeah. I feel like me now starting to splurge a little bit, I always justify them and I make sure they're a smart purchase. Yeah. For example, the Lambo, the Urus, I'm not getting it brand new. I'm not paying sales tax on it. It's one of the slowest depreciating cars out there. It does depreciate. It's not an asset, right? It is a liability. I could write off the whole thing because it's over 6,000 pounds. I could offset it on Turo if I wanted to and I didn't want to afford the payment. Yeah. And I justify it because I believe, one, it's a trophy and a reward, and I think it's going to expand my inspiration and allow me to accomplish a dream that I've wanted for a really long time. My Tesla's paid off, so it's not like I have 3 cars being stupid. So I think there's always a time and place to reward yourself. I forgot who I was talking to, but there's people out there that all they focus on is save, invest. and then they get hit by a truck in 5 years. And it's like, why did I work so hard and not enjoy my life? And the reality is we don't know. We don't know. Tomorrow's not promised. That's one side of the extreme. And the other side of the extreme are the people that don't save at all. They don't invest. They don't think about the future. And they're only playing the game of life for now. And those people aren't in a good spot either because they don't have that ability to delay the instant gratification, and they're not in a good spot. So for me, I've always tried to find some type of balance in between those where I think any type of extreme is bad. Right. So I try and dance in between those two things where I'm making sure that I'm also enjoying my life with experiences and rewarding myself for all the hard work in the journey. But I also, the only time I'll make a purchase is if I feel like I have certain things in place to justify it, in the sense of, one, I need to be able to buy it cash. Like if I couldn't buy the Urus cash, like if the Urus was more than my net worth, you shouldn't go buy a car, right?
Do not do that first.
Do not do that. And I also think about the worst case scenario things. I'm like, all right, worst case scenario, I could rent it on Turo, I could sell it. It's a tax depreciation deduction. Should I take the $3,000 a month payment and go invest it into the stock market or save it probably, right? But I feel good about it, and I think intuition's another big thing. Like I could have got a new car 2, 3, 4 years ago. I didn't because I was happy and I felt like I wasn't at the time and I didn't earn it. So that's my take when it comes to
it seems like you would get a lot of value out of it. Like everything you listed was like check. It's like you're getting value like on every horizon version of it, you know what I mean? So I don't know. Yeah. I would say get it.
just make sure it's a smart decision. I forgot where I heard this, but it's like you never want to go buy an impulse. You never want to buy off impulse, right? Never go to the car lot and be like, just get sold by the sales guy.
You're like, I wanted to buy something.
Look at the car, and it could be for a car, it could be for a watch, it could be for a vacation, lifestyle, whatever. And it's like, sit with it a little bit. Go experience it, test drive it, go look at it, like whatever you need to do. And if you still want it, a month later, some weeks later, a couple months later, buy it. Yeah. Because that means that you actually have an emotional attachment to it, and it's not just like an impulse buy and you're going to regret it. So for me, it's like if I still, like this watch, for example, I remember talking to you about this. Like, that's the dream watch, bro. This is the one I want. Like, I wanted it. I was patient about it. I bought another watch before that. And then 6 months later, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I want. And it's like, all right, let's go send it. You know?
And then you sold the other one too, so like kind of offsetted a little bit. So.
Rolled it in there.
Yeah, a little upgrade.
Yeah. So dude, I think extremes are bad. I think there it is. I think you should always have a shelter of kind of thought before just making impulse decisions on things. I think you should think about the worst case scenario. It's like, okay, what happens if the worst case scenario happens with this purchase? Can I still afford it? Is it going to put me in a bad spot? Is it going to compromise my lifestyle? And I also have a financial advisor who I run all my decisions with, and he doesn't tell me I'm an idiot. Then it's like, it also gives me another form of certainty in the thing I want to do.
That's dope, dude. Have you read Profit First?
I haven't.
That's a great book. And I've heard you talk about like basically asset allocation. So I was going to ask if you ran like a level of like asset allocation, it's like when your buckets get to a certain point, is that like when you like base your decision off of, but
yeah, to some degree. So I really like talking about this stuff. You asked me what's another thing I'm passionate about, and investing and money and seeing money grow. Like growing up, I never had money, and it was always something I wanted. Right. Tony Robbins says you're either running towards pleasure or away from pain. So for me, I was running away from the pain of not having enough money. So growing up, I was like, okay, what do I need to do? I need to make money because I associated money with pain. Therefore, I want it so I don't have pain. But for me, dude, I like thinking about these things because I do like having these buckets, and I like having. Tony Robbins says that you want to build a financial wall around yourself and your family so strong that you never have to worry about it, that no negative circumstance can break through. And I'm definitely not there yet, but I'm doing my best to have different buckets. But I also know that diversification is really important. One of the things that actually worries me a little bit about my rental portfolios, they're all in Vegas, which I think is good because I bet on Vegas like we talked about. I bet on the future growth. I bet on the landlord laws. I bet on the migration here. I think it's something like 160 people are moving to Vegas a day. It's nuts right now. But at the same time, if another COVID hits and Vegas goes to shit and there's not people able to travel here and money, like I have all my rentals in that specific category in one
Market,
bucket, which is scary. So I have other things, I have money in stocks, I have money in life insurance, I have money in watches, I have money in crypto. I try and have different buckets of assets where if one thing goes down, the other one should hold steady. But also, I just like having a well diversified, balanced portfolio. They say the average millionaire has 7 income streams, which is true. But most people in our generation, they see that and they're like, all right, I'm going to be a crypto trader. I'm going to be a drop shipper. I'm going to start an Amazon store. I'm going to create a podcast and sell ads. And they're doing all these different things with that concept of being a millionaire with 7 streams of income, but they don't have one stream in order to diversify the other streams.
Yeah.
The goal is find your one stream, whether it's media, whether it's solar, whether it's whatever you're doing, that you can create a lot of income. And then you start kind of diversifying to create little pools of income there to eventually hopefully create a strong stream.
Right. 100%. I think that I take I'm one of those guys, right? I get like super excited about like opportunities, and I'm so grateful for Pathfinder because I feel like it's like an abused, like neglected wife. I'm like just always forget about it, and then like excited about everything else, and then Pathfinder's like the only thing that ever like holds it down, like slow and steady.
Yeah.
Like so. That's funny, bro. I don't know, bro. What else do you like to talk about?
I like talking about deep stuff, dude. I like talking about life. I mean, I like hearing about inspiration and stories, and I think we're at a very interesting time here in 2024.
What do you mean? Elaborate.
Yeah, I just think there's a lot of good, cool stuff that's happening. Have you seen these freaking the Apple goggle things?
Yeah.
What do you think about those?
I don't know. It like positive, negative. I feel like I don't know, neutral towards it. I don't really care. I don't know what's going on with it. What do you have a
I just feel like
we're
at a time in history, and we're at a time in the technology and social age that I just feel like there's going to be a big shift coming up soon. And I don't know if the shift is positive. I don't know if it's negative. I like to hold the belief that there is nothing negative or positive. It's all objective, and it's based on your experience. But it just feels like 2024 is going to be a big year. And I think, I don't know. I just think the 2024, 2025, 2026, I think there's a lot of big stuff that's
in regards to like technology or like just, I mean,
the world, because technology to some degree affects the world, right? Because it affects how people interact. It affects how people communicate. It affects the way that people are able to consume and absorb information. This year also there's going to be an election, which is going to be interesting as well.
It's kind of fucked. It's going to affect our ads like significantly, so I'm not stoked about that.
Yeah, but I mean, it just gives you the opportunity to overcome that objection, right?
Yeah, I mean, just to like circle back on technology, like what I talked about this on your podcast is like the internet, the biggest freaking like worst benefit of internet and like your phone is how little, like how quick our brain like dismisses something. So our ability to pay attention and focus is like destroyed essentially. So I notice it with like my daughter, like when she sees the phone, it's like she starts going crazy, and you could see how quick like her like attention is, like neural pathways are not fully connecting and developing. So like I think with like the Apple goggles and certain technology, like there's danger in it in regards to like people being able to live inside of a fantasy like way too deep and like being able to escape their problems and like their neural pathways not fully like developing properly. But that's like, it could, there's probably a lot of positives that go with it. And as long as you're aware of it and like know how to leverage it and utilize it, there's always a benefit to it. So I know, like, again, with AI, like writing, you can write ads and like scripts and all that, like so quick, it's insane. But like what ability is that going to affect in our like human minds to be able to come up with like creative ad copy or creative like briefs or anything like that? Like, yes, it's enhancing humanity to like move forward and like develop quicker, but will we lose a level of like, I don't know, like ability to create thoughts maybe? Like, I don't know. I don't even know, honestly. Like it's never been done. Or
it's interesting, and I agree with you. I mean, everyone knows like the generation Gen Z, like we haven't really seen the negative repercussions of technology and social media yet, but as this younger generation starts to grow into
like their new norm.
adults and stuff like that, I think people are going to have some serious repercussions. Like, we're around the same age. Like, I'm grateful we were right at the cusp.
Right, you
of
saw
like,
both of them.
Yeah, before technology, like our childhood was pre-cell phone, pre-smartphone, pre-technology, and then we kind of grew up with social media and technology, where it's kind of crazy to think about. Like, that's not the thing anymore. Like, kids
Dude,
literally
kids
are
are
growing
literally
up.
on TikTok. Like,
It's nuts, dude. And no, it's gonna be very interesting. But I wanna comment on something you talked about. There's a kind of a concept I've been studying recently. It has something to do with kind of like the law of duality, where essentially this says for everything in the world, there is a positive and there's a negative. Everything.
Yeah.
So to your point, right, there is a lot of negative that comes with social media and technology. It could potentially erode people's ability to think, like their way to delay gratification, like their ability to have conversations, their ability to actually sit and focus, right? ADHD, I don't know if that was a thing before our generation,
Right.
but there could be a claim to the point where that was created by technology and killing people's ability to focus. I don't believe in ADHD. I just think I think that's a label, and I think kids just have strong imaginations, and they're probably just not paying attention in school because they don't give a they don't care about it, right?
Yeah.
But I think to your point, it definitely is going to create a negative effect on future generations. It already is, but I also think there's going to be a massive positive with it. Because with everything, there has to be an equal duality in negative and positive. You just have to look for it, right? When someone dies, someone else is born, that kind of concept. And it's going to be interesting, dude. And I'm just excited. I'm excited. I think more now than ever, people just need to do their best to be attuned with their own life and their own path. And social media, for me, has always been kind of like a hammer, half of it times a hammer to build and the other half is a hammer to destroy. And it's something I've battled with as well. And one thing that I wish in my future is, like, right now I run my business from my smartphone. I have to be on it all the time in order to be a good leader and be of service and get shit done, right? Like, I'm not clocking in or clocking out. My phone is how I communicate and take care of my team. With that, though, comes negative side effects as well, where it's like I feel like even when I'm not working, I'm still on my phone because of the addiction to the dopamine and just, it's like an alcoholic working at a bar, right? Like, it's tough. It doesn't matter how much willpower you have. Like, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
So I look forward to a season of my life where maybe I can shut the phone off for a week, or at least.
Even look like, bro?
That's what I'm saying.
Can
that's
you
what's scary
imagine that?
about it.
Actually.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I'm excited. I think the world is at an interesting place. I think there's going to be big things ahead of us. Some good, some bad. But as long as people are doing the work, the inner work, focusing on themselves, focusing on their mindset and their emotional intelligence and dealing with challenges, I think we'll be good.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, going back to that duality, it's like one can't exist without the other. It's like impossible. But there's so much amazing opportunity ahead of us. We're in like the best time in history to ever be alive. Like, there's so many resources. There's so much information. There's like, it's almost hard to not make something good for yourself in today's day and age. Like, you can make a living doing anything, like literally playing video games, streaming on Twitch, which is part of technology, right? So like, you can make a living doing anything with the resources that are available. It's just like, become good enough at it, passionate enough at whatever it is, and you'll get there. So like, the opportunity for the next few years is immense. I'm excited myself.
And that's one thing you asked me earlier, like what fires me up and what I'm passionate about. Like, that, what you just said, has probably been like one of my driving motivators for the last decade. Just allowing myself and then eventually allowing other people and supporting them to break out of the idea that you have to do something for the rest of your life in order to earn money that you don't like.
Yeah.
Like, for me growing up, that was really the reason that I got into entrepreneurship and eventually into sales and solar and now investing in personal development and all these things, is because it scared me watching my parents work for 50 years to have nothing to show for it at a job they didn't like every day because they had to, not because they wanted to. And for me, that was my reality around me. It was like, yeah, you just have to work. Like, working is just what you do. You're not supposed to like your job. You're not supposed to make much money at your job. You have to do it as a provider and you do it to survive. And the rich people are there there, and the smart people are there, and the poor people and middle class people are here, and that's the way life is. And I bought into that vision for the first 18, 19 years of my life, and then there was a switch that got turned on when I was like 20 years old. Like, no, dude, you can enjoy your life. You can enjoy what you do. Like, you can create a life and that you don't need a vacation from. And ever since then, I got that idea, and I just get really passionate about it. Because if you think about it, dude, like, working takes like 1/3 of your life. You know, I think you sleep for 8 hours a day. You should be. You work typically for about 8 hours a day, the average person, and then you do whatever your life is the other 8 hours a day. So, like, people are literally sacrificing after you become an adult at 21, 22 years old, 1/3 of their life at a job that they probably don't like, that they're not fulfilled in, that they're not valued at, because they believe that's what you have to do if you weren't born into an affluent family. And the reality is, dude, like, should be very grateful because we broke out of that paradigm. Yeah. But most people aren't, dude. I know we associate with people that are on that same frequency, but like, think about all your high school friends. Think about all the people you know in college. Yeah. I would say the majority of them are still bought in the fact that you can only have fun on the weekends. You can only take vacations for every 1 or 2 times a year. And like, you have to go slave away at a job that you don't like for 1/3 of your life.
Which is nuts, dude. Like, I could never go back. Like, I could never go back to a job for like any reason, just because of like how confident I am in my ability to provide value and any place, anywhere. Like, so I couldn't just do that. There's like, it's like almost like thinking about committing suicide. Like, it's like, what? Like, why? Like, it would have to be super dire, dramatic situations. But yeah, it's part of that reprogramming your mind and like that inner work and stuff like that, that like kind of frees you from that. And I think most people just probably don't want to do that work. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because it's not like, I think the things that change your life aren't those like big dramatic leaps, although you come to those points in your life and you take them and you move forward. But like, it's the little things where it's like, oh, it's like 7:00 tonight. Do I like turn on the TV or do I read this book? Yep. Or like, you know what I mean? Or do I like meditate and stretch and go to the gym? Or do I like just go to McDonald's? Like, you know, so those little tiny decisions, like, and it's crazy because people feel like they're not in control of their life, but you're in control of every single little, you know, decision you make. And I've heard you talk a lot about it. It's like you start to compound those wins and you start to believe in yourself and you start to have you know, faith in yourself, and then you have confidence in your ability to do anything you put your mind to, because you've already proved to yourself that you showed up to the gym like 500 times or
100%, dude.
You know, meditated or whatever.
And back to what we were just talking about, that's one positive of social media and technology, like being exposed to people
that's true.
Like making crazy amounts of income, or not even crazy amount of income, but have the time flexibility to go do something they actually care about. Like the fact, if I'm a young kid now growing up in high school and I see these freaking TikTokers making $100,000 a week or $100,000 a month or whatever, like living this crazy lifestyle, it's like, I have hope that I could go do something. Where before, like in high school, you're kind of sheltered. You're sheltered to your community. You're sheltered in your environment. Right. Like if you didn't have a rich uncle, like you kind of just like are there, you know, and you buy into the idea that like this is just the way life is. And, you know, like you just said, like most people don't believe they have control over your life. Like that is fed to us intentionally to make us feel like we don't have control over our life, to make us feel disempowered, to continue to work as a slave and feed the media machine. And it's unfortunate, you know, it's unfortunate because that's not the truth. Like if there's one thing that you do have control over, it's your life, because if not, what else?
Yeah. Well, dude, you know what's a crazy concept is like in every religious text, like Christians, it's like the coming of Jesus or whatever, and you know, the Torah, the coming of the Messiah or whatever, and like the there's like this like overarching belief, like I've heard this other my friend Quest talks about like the 5th dimension or whatever, but like if everyone were to like come into vibrational alignment with like their higher self, like as a collective community, then we would all be receptive to like who knows what else, right? Like if our whole community wasn't like programmed how it is to like keep everyone confined and controlled, but if it was like programmed to be like of abundance and like to connect to higher power, like as a whole society, like what like the potentials of that reality of like the Messiah coming or whatever it is would be pretty nuts. Like, you know, who knows what type of breakthroughs as like humanity we could make, you know? Not that like is supposed to go anywhere, but it's just an interesting idea.
Super interesting, dude. And like just higher thinking. You know, I think that's why people naturally like they gravitate towards religion. You know, I don't really call myself religious. I'm Jewish by blood, and you know, I go see the rabbi twice a month, and I do my thing because I'd get genuine value. But I would say I'm spiritual. You know, I believe in a higher power. I believe in faith. I believe that there's more out there than just our humanness.
Yeah.
I don't really label myself to a specific religion, but I feel like as I've grown more in my professional career, I've grown more in my spiritual sense.
That's interesting. Do you think, is it like which one came first or the other? It's like has been a simultaneous growth, or
It's
like
definitely business, because the crazy thing is, as I started growing as an individual, because at first I just wanted to make money. I was like, how do I make money? And then I got involved in industries and environments where the way that we had to make money was to grow as an individual. Because then I realized it's like, oh, that makes sense. If I want to become a millionaire, or if I want $1 million, I have to become a millionaire. Well, what does that mean? Well, I have to start acting as is. I have to start doing the things in order to become that, so I can eventually attract the actual fiscal amount. And then with that came, oh, there's these spiritual laws, and there's quantum physics, and there's these things called faith and desire, like all these non-physical things. And then that kind of opened the door to, okay, well, if these are non-physical, like what else is non-physical? And then I started learning more just about like Buddhism and Stoicism, and yeah, just kind of opened the door to get more spiritual in terms of, you know, my life. And, you know, it's interesting, because I don't understand how bad people become successful. And bad's objective, but I'm saying people who...
like unethical?
Yeah, unethical, people you wouldn't trust with your wife, people that you wouldn't want to go into business with, people that you get that kind of icky energy from, even if they're saying everything right. And I'm like, how do you guys become ultra successful? Because my philosophy has always been, the better person I become, the more money I make. The more money I make, the better person I become. And I've been so intertwined in that concept.
Yeah.
So it's such a foreign concept to me to be like, man, like if my character hasn't grown to match my lifestyle and who I am, I feel like I wouldn't have that lifestyle anymore.
Well, dude, okay, so I'm gonna tell you a story about my uncle. My uncle is probably the wealthiest person I know. I haven't seen him in a few years, but last I heard, like, someone said he was like selling off all his assets for like close to $1 billion. And so he's
Big time.
Yeah, he's super major, dude. He's like the most, but also he's like the evilest, scariest person I've ever met. Like, you could see like the blackness in his eyes, and like you feel that, like, oh shit, like he walks in the room and you're like, oh dude, I don't know, you're like, you know, all your spidey senses go off. Like, he's super powerful, super negative, and I think it's just like the same principle. Is like like the more like bad you become, the more powerful you become. But also, it's like your like reality that you experience. So like if you become more powerful with negative energy, like, and become successful, if you like call it success with like material things, like you can acquire all those things with that same power, like negative energy, but also your quality of life is like different. Like you're living in constant anxiety, like always looking over your shoulder because someone's gonna stab you because you stole, like, or you effed them out of a deal, or like, you know what I mean? Like you just stepped on everybody on your way there, so you have no peace. So I think if you were to become materially successful in this world with you know, with the negative energy, I think it's very lonely. I think it's very like a bad feeling, and you could still acquire success physically, but it's just a different power and energy. So I've seen it. Like I've seen my uncle, like, my whole life, just like live a crazy, extravagant, lavish life. But also when I'm with him, I'm like, he could just flip out and start like yelling at you, like at the top of your lungs for, like, you know, not like, I don't know, anything, like stepping wrong. So it's like that level of pressure and energy is just not something that I would want to live my life like, but it's definitely powerful and available. Like, you know, there's like massive like drug kingpins and stuff, and they're like extremely successful, but you know, their quality of life, it's like, what is it like? And that's what I think is, to me, the most important aspect of my life is like the quality of like peace and like love that I could experience with my family. And obviously, like, I think being successful financially is like a part of that, because you can't really, dude, I don't, me and my cousin got in a fight a long time ago, like 2020. We were like roommates, and we like had a fallout, and we moved along. And now like my other cousin's like, yeah, you know, he's just like really focused on being a dad, and like he doesn't care about anything else. But it's like, to me, it's it's counterintuitive. Like, you can't be the best dad or the best person for your children if you're not free financially, because it's not like you could actually show up. Like, I work probably only a couple hours a day. I spend the most of the time with my daughter and like taking care of her and stuff. So it's like, you can't be a loser and be the best dad you can. Like, it's impossible because you don't have the resources to be there for your family. So like, I think being successful financially is it's like a mandatory. It's like you have to crack that code to really be there.
Yeah, I think Ed Milet said this, and I'm going to butcher it, but he said, the worst form of child neglect is not meeting your potential as a parent. Because don't do what I say, do what I do, right? Monkey see, monkey do. If the best way to serve your children or your family, and I don't have kids yet, but I imagine, right, you want the best for your kid, just, you want the best for your family. So the best thing that you can do for your family is to go level up yourself.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter what you tell your kids, they're going to see what you do.
Yeah.
And they're going to do what you do, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's the old adage, it's like, you can be anywhere, anything you want to be, sweetie. And it's like, okay, Dad, how come you aren't?
Yeah.
So it's like, I agree with you, dude. It's like, go level up yourself. And you don't have to have a Lamborghini or like, you live a lavish lifestyle, but like, go create some freedom, go create some fulfillment. Like, make sure, you said peace. Peace is probably above all my number one value that I strive for. Like, part of the reason I grind so hard and want to create so much wealth is so I can have peace. Because I think in order to have peace, unless you're meditating, on a mountain with Buddhas all day, which isn't realistic in like the 21st century and what we live in. Like, you need control over your schedule. You need control over who you can associate with. You need control over things, because to your point, the second you get fired from your job because you don't have control and you can't pay the bills, you then lose peace and you're not able to serve your family at the highest level because you're stressed on how you're going to take care of them.
Right. Yeah, dude, it's mandatory to... Well, peace also is, like, derived from rituals and routines. Like, you know what I mean? I don't think there's, like, ever a perfect scenario that, like, is going to create peace for you. I think that peace is, like, in the moment and taking the time to, like, do your rituals, your meditation, your, like, well-being things so that you have a state of mental clarity. Because you can't even make decisions appropriately if you don't have mental clarity. Because then you're, like, reacting out of emotion, and that might not be the best decision for you if you don't have that mental clarity, which is crazy. It's just crazy because it's easy to be like, oh, they were emotional, like they made an irrational decision. But when you get to that space, it's harder to be like, whoa, let me get my clarity back before I respond.
It's tough, dude. It's tough, like, as humans, like, we are reactionary creatures,
right?
That's how we were designed to survive, was to react, to survive, right? Like, our brain doesn't want to help us progress. It wants to keep us alive.
Yeah.
And it's evolved from, hundreds of thousands of years ago, from surviving winters, surviving famines, surviving saber-toothed tigers, to now surviving my bills, or surviving this modern day challenges that we occur. So we have to be very intentional and very mindful as we go out in the world that we're not operating from that 10,000-year-old survival brain, and that we can actually respond to situations and not react. I think it's such a difference, right? React is, hey, I poke you, and you're like, what the fuck, bro? You freak out on me. Respond is, I poke you, and you're like, I wonder why he poked me right now. Is he trying to get my attention? Is he trying to mess with me? Like, that happens every single second of every single day. We have these opportunities to either, do I respond to what's happening to me, or do I react? And when you respond, you can't control what happens to you, but you can absolutely control what you do about it. So that do about it part will always be at the highest consciousness and the highest result if you respond consciously and not react. But I think that just comes out of us living from our unconscious mind, dude. I think it's like 80% of our life we live from the unconscious. We learn from habit and we learn from ritual, right? How I get from work to my house every single day. I don't think about it. I just, I get in my car and I'm like, oh shit, how did I get there? 20 minutes later. It's kind of scary, but like, that's our unconscious mind. It's how our breath, if we're not consciously breathing, right, the breath stays alive, the blood through our veins. So it's like, we have to do certain things to bring the conscious unconscious if we want control over our life and if we want to actually make some change.
When it's really interesting, as humans we have the power to like create those like neural pathways, those habits that become unconscious like behavior. So like that gets really fun when you start to play with that and like really be able to program your your beliefs or whatever, your actions, to create like almost like an automatic life around you, like because you've been having the right habits and the right rituals for so long that like it's almost like that your experience is that reality now. I don't know how I was connecting that to what we were talking about, but it's interesting.
Life's interesting, dude.
Life is interesting, bro. So pretty much like when I don't know people, the premise of the podcast is like, it's like tell your story, like how you got from point A to point B, because everyone would be like, yeah, it's easy for Steve to go buy a Lambo. He's got 5 houses and fucking Dior backpacks and all kinds of cool shit. So he got lucky, So also, I think that a lot of the time, like people see entrepreneurship as like oh, that cool guy, or like it's just like they have it all figured out, or it's like it's like a happy story, but really it's like a treacherous journey of like failure, embarrassment, humiliation, getting up, trying again. So I'm kind of curious to hear like I know your story, but like maybe some aspects of your story that you haven't told, or some challenges that you've overcome.
Yeah, dude, it's all been challenges, and I think entrepreneurship is just a self-discovery program. At least it has been for me. I never knew when I was younger, like I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always wanted to be a baseball player. That was kind of the dream. That was kind of the dream. And then I realized as I got like into high school, I was like, that's actually not my dream. That's my dad's dream. And I never really committed to actually being that good in the first place. It just sounded cool. But yeah, I think entrepreneurship's a self-discovery program, because that's really what I did, man. I mean, grew up in Vegas, super below average upbringing, lived in a 800 square foot condo my whole life. Always had everything that I needed, always had food on the table, never had to worry about that. But it was always paycheck to paycheck. Like my parents would buy me that new PlayStation instead of paying their bills on time. And then they would just eat the late fee and they would figure it out. So growing up, I always knew I wanted to give back to my parents, because I felt like they always gave everything to me, even at their own sacrifice. And it felt like at one point they just gave up on their life. This is how life's be. This is our living conditions. This is the way that things are going to be moving forward, because I think as you get to some age, you kind of just yield to life. And you stop trying, you stop caring, and you just kind of settle like, hey, this is life, right? Like I'm too old to change anything, or I'm too young to change anything. We buy into this paradigm. So I was always super motivated to do something, but it wasn't really until I got to college, because I always wanted to be liked. I always wanted to be the popular guy, even though I never was. That was always a desire for me. So I think as I started to grow like my social skills, I started to get belief. I was super timid, super introvert, super shy, because that's how I grew up. I grew up very sheltered. I went to private school up until 5th grade. So as I started developing social skills, like towards the end of high school and college, I think I started to realize unconsciously that I could develop, grow, and learn. I could go from this, what I thought at the time was this timid, low self-esteem, shy little boy, to, oh, I actually have some cool friends. I can actually get girls. So that evolution for me, I think, opened up my mind from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. Because if I could grow in my social skills, what else can I grow in? So when I got to college, shout out to Austin, a buddy of mine, he introduced me to this concept of network marketing. And at the time, I knew nothing about it. I was working at Planet Hollywood, making, I don't know, a couple $1,000 a month, which at the time was good money. I was paying for my Ultima car payment. I was giving my parents a little bit of money, and I had enough money to, go out with my friends at the bars on the weekends. And I thought things were good. I was going to school just to go to school. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. And after I learned about network marketing, I remember joining. Didn't really understand it too much, but I saw a YouTube video one night on how college was a scam. It was like a 30-minute YouTube video, and I dropped out the next day.
No way.
Told my parents. I said, "Hey,
college is a scam.
I know you're not going to like this. I know you're not going to understand. I know I'm getting financial aid from the government, but like, yeah, I'm out. Like, I don't like school. I don't know where I'm going. I just need to do something different." So after that, I actually didn't tell my fraternity brothers and my coworkers that I was quitting school, because I was embarrassed to tell them I was doing this network marketing thing. And eventually I did, and they're like, "You're a loser, dude. What do you mean?
So
like, why would you do that?"
All in on the network marketing thing? Like,
all in,
you
dude.
kept your job, or you quit?
Yeah, kept my job, because I wasn't making any money. So I was working. I needed to pay my bills. But yeah, that was what I felt like my future was going to be. So I did network marketing for 3 years, never really made much money, got a ton of hate, a ton of criticism, a ton of people laughing at me, because for 3 years, I'm the guy. I'm going to create 6 figures. I'm going to make all this money. I'm going to travel the world. And I hopped from a few different companies. In that time, though, I was learning so much. Again, that self-discovery part. I was learning about myself. I was learning how to read books. I never read a book before that. First book I ever read, even in high school, I used to cheat on the reading book reports. I used to cheat in quick book it. But,
he said QuickBooks.
Yeah.
It's tax season.
Yeah, it's tax season. Whatever that stuff is. But it was my first book I ever read. So I started learning about sales.
Wait, what was your first book?
Think and Grow Rich.
Oh, Think and Grow Rich. Okay.
Yeah, Napoleon Hill. First book I ever read.
I think that was my first book too.
Yeah, it's most people's. It's a great book. And I just started learning these skills that I never learned in the classroom. And again, I started opening my mind to like, you don't have to go to school. You don't have to work a job. You don't have to conform to a 9-to-5 like my worldview used to be. Like I didn't know anyone making money. I didn't know anyone successful. The only person I knew that was successful was my uncle in New York. And he wasn't even successful. He was probably making like $200K a year, working like 10 hours because he owned a glass shop in Brooklyn. So long story short, network marketing didn't work out. I'm at this point in my life where I'm broke still. I had no money, probably like $1,000 to my name. I had all this skill set and all this belief. I was reading all the books, showing up to all the meetings, doing all the things that they told me to do, but I was still broke. And I came down to this point where I actually ended up going to go sell pest control door to door after network marketing didn't work out.
I didn't know that.
In New Jersey, went out there for the summer with 4 buddies. The goal was to go make $30K in a summer, which at the time was life-changing money. And then figure out what I wanted to do with my life when we got back. Went out there, 4 or 5 buddies, awful experience. Didn't like pest control, didn't like the culture. First time away from home. I was living with my parents in their 700 square foot condo up until this point. So first time away from home in a new place. And after 3 days, I quit.
No way.
I ended up staying with my uncle.
Actually, I do remember you telling me this story.
Yeah, dude. I ended up staying with my uncle in New York for 2 weeks because I didn't have enough money to buy my plane ticket back to Las Vegas. So I had to save up. He was paying me $70 a day to like sweep up and help him out at the shop. I eventually saved up, came back to Vegas. I kind of knew that there was this solar thing going on. Shout out to my boy Zach. Shout out to my boy Zach Reisler.
Zach got you?
Zach Reisler, my old fraternity buddy, told me about this solar thing before I left. Ended up coming back, broke, busted. Everyone was laughing at me again. No job, no money, nervous because I couldn't afford my car payment. I was just, all right, this is do or die, fight or flight. Like if everything that I learned in this last 3 years about faith and confidence and spirituality and just believe in yourself, like all this Tony Robbins type stuff I learned in these last 3 years is true. Like I need to make this happen
right now.
And then it started working, dude. You know, first couple months were tough. Started doing decent, making some money. 4 months in, I was the fastest growing manager in the company. I was making like $6-7 grand a month at the time, which was awesome. It was more money I ever made in my life. I was working for myself. I didn't have to clock in, clock out. I was in an environment that I actually thrived in. And then the market shut down in 2015. I'm like, fuck. And then moved to Colorado, crushed it out there, moved to SoCal, eventually moved back to 2018 in Vegas, and then kind of the rest is history, dude. 8 years later, still in the game. You know, started as a young, just naive, broke, low self-esteem, optimistic kid that now has done decently well in the solar industry.
Let's go.
Excited to see what the future holds.
That's an inspiring story.
That's it, dude. And it's crazy you asked me that. You know, I really enjoy sharing that because I was the dude 8 years ago, 9 years ago, before I got into solar, that was like always the guys that would like go to the books or listen to the podcast. It wasn't podcasts at the time, but YouTube videos, go to the seminars of people in my position sharing their story and sharing the adversity and sharing the challenges and how they started here and were broke and low self-esteem, rock bottom, and then here. And I was like, I don't think that could ever be me. Like, I want to believe it, but like I didn't have the belief and faith. So now to be on the other side of that question in hindsight, it just kind of goes to show like anyone really can do this.
Yeah.
And by this, I mean create the life you want if you put your mind to it, if you sacrifice, if you're willing to go through ridicule, if you're willing to give up to get up, if you're willing to just work your guts off and be consistent and do the things that you know that you should be doing. Like anyone can create anything they want in their life. And the one thing that I wish I did more was document before I started making money.
Yeah.
Because I could show people and I could show myself the journey and what it actually takes, and to show people that have no faith, no self-esteem, no belief that they could actually go create wealth, success, freedom, fulfillment, that you could do it, because I was there too.
Dude, that's fucking dope. Although I've documented since like the beginning, like 2000 freaking maybe 10. And like I don't think I've shared any of that. It's like so embarrassing that I don't think I have the courage to do that right now.
well, that's why you should share it, dude, because there's millions of people out there that are embarrassed to go after their goals and their dreams.
Maybe I should. That would be.
So to see someone like yourself who's crushing it, dude, who has full control over their schedule, who makes enough money to support their family and live an awesome lifestyle, who doesn't have to answer to a boss, who can associate with the people that they choose to associate with. Like, you have full freedom over your life. Like, I would say the freedom's more important than money.
Yeah.
When I got into solar, my goal wasn't to go make hundreds or millions of dollars. It was to make enough money where I didn't have to clock in and clock out and have some type of control over my life.
Yeah.
Then I eventually got that. I'm like, oh shit, I'm going to become a multimillionaire. But I think that's what really opens life for most people. It's like, yeah, you need money to like have options and choices, but you really just need to make enough money to support your lifestyle so you can like actually choose what you want to do with your life.
Yeah.
And you've done that, dude. So I would share it.
That's awesome, bro. Thanks. You inspired me. I might share it. I'll tag you in it. Like today, I already know what piece of content it is. It's so embarrassing. It's good, but dude. Hey, we started somewhere, and that's a foundation. Yeah, I don't think I would have gotten. Bro, I'm talking about people laughing at you, like, people laughed at me for a long time, bro. For a long time, and I was just like delusional, like, nah, dude, my shit's good, and it was bad. and then I just turned into like the media company. But like, had I not like tried to do music or pursue that, being in front of the camera and stuff, I wouldn't have developed the skills to get here. And so just along for the journey. That's crazy, dude.
I still have pictures, dude. I have screenshots of people talking shit from like a decade ago.
No.
Yeah, like on Twitter and
really?
like Instagram. Just like me posting all these motivational quotes that I probably read in a book on Facebook and stuff. And just haters, dude. Just like, you loser, you drop out of school. What do you think? Go get a real job. Like all these things.
You screenshotted it?
I screenshot it, dude. I screenshot it. And, all these quotes that I used to read back then were the way that I got through all that criticism, because like, you take that stuff personal and it can get to you. And it's not even them being bad people. It's just them coming out of their own consciousness and like projecting their own insecurities on that people. So it's like, I always thought I'd be the guy that's like, when I make it, I'm going to show you. I'm about to shit on everybody. Yeah, but it's like, now it's like, I could care less, dude. Like, I'm still, to be honest, I'm still homies with a lot of people that used to talk shit, because like they've grown, I've grown. And it's just funny now, kind of like the interaction that we have with each other. And they're like, funny. Props, dude. You know, you said what you said. You did what you said you're going to do. And last thing I'll touch on is...
Oh, you're good. I think, like, podcast. You're like exactly on the...
I'm pretty good at it, dude. But I think one of the most important things people can do, no matter where they are in their journey, whether they're about to take that first leap of faith to go against the grain and start something new, or quit their job, or start that business, or join that sales opportunity, or move to that state for that opportunity, whatever it is you want to leverage your past wins. It's so important. And it doesn't matter how big or small. Like, the way I still get confidence and certainty today when I go up against challenges, because most people have the infatuation or the belief that like once you get to a certain level of income, or you get to a certain level of status, or a certain career in your business, like problems just evaporate. It's not true, right? More levels, more devils. Like, it's a true thing, because the challenges get bigger and you have more to lose as well, which is scary, right? Like, when you're broke, you don't really have anything to lose. You're like, send it, dude.
Yeah.
Now you have a decent net worth. Like, some of us have families. It's like there's more to lose, but being able to pull your victories and the times where you thought you'll never be able to make it, and were anxious and couldn't sleep and were scared and fearful, and you were able to persevere and get through it, like, hold on to those experiences. Almost use that as a library of events to create that belief to move forward. And it could be, I was the last person on the baseball team and the bases were loaded and I was nervous and I was scared and I hit the grand slam and I won the game. Like, those moments, you can leverage those to create faith and confidence and trust in the process to push you through those scary decisions that's going to take your life to the next level.
That's fire! Dude, you've been great.
Thanks for having me, dude. We can kick it
forever and talk about everything, but where can the people find you?
Yeah, you guys definitely hit me up on Instagram at Steven Cohen, StevenCohen. I also have a podcast called Millennial Millionaire. Oscar's been on before. It's crazy. You were, the one that I started the podcast with.